Welcome to the intensive training camp for Special Forces soldiers. In front of you is a combined obstacle course for different types of battles, which will help you to get acquainted with the weapon in the closest possible conditions.
I'm going to use this video as an introduction to some of the more advanced mechanics, but it's still going to be a very basic introduction of things.
It is better to use a machine gun to pass the first stage. The most effective medium to long-range weapon against superior opponents. Once you're ready to climb over the fence, the obstacle course timer will begin. Take a position at the indicated points and hit all targets that rise.
Okay, so this is the first thing that you need to know about navigating the landscape. Your soldiers can jump over fences. However, if you have a lot of guys, this sometimes become a problem, because if you right click here, if you have one guy, he's going to jump over there, but if you have 10, they're all going to jump over at the same place. Unfortunately, they're not very good at navigating it as a whole. They're not smooth operators just jumping everywhere and whatever. They are soldiers, so I understand that, but yes, unfortunately that mechanic does not work so well, and sometimes you'll see that you click and they still don't go over. So just keep that in mind for future gameplay.
Now, move on to the next stage. For combat in confined spaces, a submachine gun is best suited. Also use grenades to quickly and safely clean the rooms.
Yep, I'm dead.
Ausgezeichnet. Keep moving. Remember, heavy anti-tank grenades can be used to blow up obstacles in your path.
So here you can use explosives by either selecting the going into item options and then putting the explosives down over there, or you can do it in third person mode, either using this grenade, or you can chuck the dynamite. Yeet.
You can accurately throw grenades in direct control mode. Narrow windows and cracks are not a hindrance for you. Throw grenades inside these two fortifications and damage the barrels.
Even though this is a fun little exercise, there's never really a point in the game where you're gonna have the time to do this.
Very capable soldier. Just what the Reich needs. Let's proceed to the final stage. Get on the motorcycle, hook up the cannon and move to the final point. In strategic mode, you can set the path of the unit if you hold down the shift key and give orders with the left mouse button.
As I was just to say that, like, as with any game, you can put multiple orders. Alright, so towing can be done in one of two ways. You can either tell him to reverse up to here, right click on that, or in third person mode, the hotkey I think is Shift G. It'll attach it. However, what is cool is you'll see that that actually follows a little bit of physics. So if you're reversing, you can reverse your cannon the way that you want. But being a game, you can also just do this. You will see in with the icons of units that can tow, they'll have that little link icon, which means that it can tow, and then there's a number of dots above it which shows how strong it can pull, because obviously this thing can't pull a very heavy artillery cannon. However, larger trucks will be able to do that.
Das war verdammt gut. In the upcoming battles, Deutschland can rely on you.
Cool, well, we're going to continue this video. As I mentioned, this is more of the little bit of the mechanics of the game, a little bit of a look at the more advanced mechanics, but it's still just a basic overview in general. So the first thing that I have covered a little bit, but I'd like to just go through that real quick again, is in single player you have time control. So in multiplayer obviously you can't do that, but in single player you can, for example, pause the game, look around, look in his inventory, do a couple of stuff. Unfortunately, you can't really issue orders. You can, but it doesn't show it up until when the game starts up again. And then you can also, if things get too hairy and there's too much going on and you need to be all over the map at the same time, hey, where are you going? You can press backspace, and then this will give you the time control, the game speed, so you can slow it down a little bit or effectively bullet time. Or if you have a situation where, for example, you're crawling your guys across the map and you need to speed up things a little bit, you can do that by just putting it over to the 5. You can use this bar anywhere you want. 3 is the normal game speed. But to give you an example, if I put it on bullet time, as you can see, everything is slowed down a lot. Right. Then a very important part that I want to cover here, which I feel like a lot of people don't always understand, and that is because the game gives you the option to play without the fog of war. However, I would suggest, especially for a new player, to always play with the fog of war on, because that allows you to understand how the vision element of this game works. What you have to understand about this game is it is trying to synergize two very different genres of games. So you have your RTS, which is the top-down view, and then you obviously have your third-person / first-person FPS kind of element to it at heart. Because the game does not have a one-to-one scale, this leads to situations where people sometimes get angry because they see a tank reverse into the ether and then just suddenly disappear, where they feel like, but I should have been able to see him as I go in. However, this is where the mechanics of the game come in to kind of balance out the first-person element, but still with the vision restrictions that you have in RTS mode. And I'm going to display that by, first of all, like I said, if you want to see how the visions look, the best way is to just go into the editor, literally just put in a little man and put on fog of war, and then you can see this is what the vision of a normal soldier looks like. As you can see, he's got the peripheral vision, and then he's got the wide arc over here, and nobody can really sneak up on soldiers here, so you've got a small bit of a leeway of that. With vehicles, on the other hand, you have a bit of a different scenario where I'm just going to move this vehicle and move this guy. So you can see vehicles can see not as far, but they've got quite a bit of vision around them. And then you've got the driver's eyes, and then the gunner can see over there. So as you can see, that's usually the gunner and or commander's vision that is displayed like that. However, even within that, there are elements of stealth and concealment, where you can hide units and you're not able to see them. So for example, if I take this guy, go hide him in the bush, this tank can almost drive up to him, and even though he can see him in range, he is unable to view the soldier up until when he gets really close. Especially if I crouch down. See, he can see the... Let me quickly explain what's happening here as well. Everything in this game has a noise factor, so from walking to shooting to engine noise, and this plays a huge element in being able to spot enemies. So as you can see here, even though the tank is technically out of his field of vision, because the tank is a big, loud, noisy bastard, you can see him a little bit further than just his normal view. So I will show now as well with how shots reveal your guys, but just keep that in mind. Like I said, what I'm just displaying here now is how concealment works, where even though this tank has vision over this bush, he's not going to see him until he's really close. Okay. See, I'm at, how far am I? I still cannot see him. Oopsie. 50 meters, still can't see him. 40 meters. All the way, there we go. 20 meters, and there I can see him. Right. See, and if my commander's not looking at him, he loses vision of him as well. So now, I quickly want to reverse back up here. Back to this guy. So as you can see, now he's lost vision on him because it's just too far. However, if I put him over here, oh, you see he hears the engine noise. However, if I, for example, turn off the engine, then he should lose vision of him. So as you can see, eventually, if he loses sight of him and now he doesn't have any noise of him, he completely loses sight of the tank. So what I'm going to do with the tank now, I'm going to fire around. And as you can see, even though he's far out of his range, once again, because of the noise of the shot of the cannon, he was able to spot him even though he's beyond his field of vision. So you'll see with any shots, this counts for soldiers and for vehicles, it's around about 5 seconds that you are revealed. So it's the same with if this tank was driving up here and he was in this bush and the tank did not see him. As soon as this guy fires a shot, he's revealed for a short while. So what you'll see where this comes into play, so obviously this vehicle is being spotted for quite a lot longer than if it was infantry. So let's do the reverse. So this guy, see, pow. So he's still too far to spot him. So he can spot him as long as he has an idea of where he was. However, if he looks away and he stops spotting him, whoop, then he loses vision of the tank. And even when he's back now, he cannot see the tank, even though he could see him for a long time because he had memory of where the tank was, more or less of an idea, and the tank made noise as well. So I just want to see this guy. So the tank can't see him. So when you have a bush as well, so this is also where I want to talk about cover versus concealment. So concealment means that the enemy cannot actually see you, where, however, if they do spot you, they are able to shoot at you, where cover is when you are behind something that protects you from projectiles. And this game, you can have things that are both covers you and provides concealment. However, you need to be very careful as to which one it is, because cover does not provide you with concealment. So for example, if you have a sniper, he'd be much better off in this bush sniping, as the bush conceals him, so it's very difficult for the enemy to spot where the shots are coming from, where if he was standing here, even though he'd be in cover, they'd still be able to see where those shots are coming from. Then you've also got to remember that obviously being a bush, even if you have a unit hidden in the bush, if you've got an officer with binoculars, they can see soldiers in bushes. So very important for gameplay purposes is that the officer can see hidden units, where there's obviously a lot of factors that influence these things. For example, if you have a special forces unit, each faction has their own version of it. So there are many things that affect your, first of all, your field of vision, and then also how easily you are spotted. So for example, if we have these two guys, so this is a scout unit, you'll see that they usually have the eye icon, which means that they can see further than your normal soldiers. And then if you have a light blue ribbon with the eyeball with a line through, that means that they are a stealthier unit, so it's much more difficult to spot them. So let's see if I move them up, how quickly it takes him to spot a normal unit versus a stealthy unit. Okay, there we go. Now we spotted the recon. As you can see, still not spot the stealth guy. So as you can see, the stealth unit can get very close. There we go, they're spotted now. At almost, yeah, at 30 meters, and he was spotted at about 40 meters. Right, so I just want to reiterate that anything a unit does that produces noise reveals their position. So that is anything from shooting to, like I said, vehicles are obviously big and noisy, so they can be heard from quite a bit further. And depending on the kind of unit that you have, also depends on how easily a unit is spotted. So I just want to show you, as you can see, the recon infantry can see much further than the normal infantry. Right, so what I want to show here as well is that the AI isn't really as stupid as people make it out to be. So what I'm going to do is, this tank is now going to realize that there is a guy, and I'm going to send him into hiding, and then you will see the tank search for him. So as you can see, he's lost sight of him, but he knows where he is more or less, and because move at will is on, he's going to try and get closer to see if he can spot the target. As you can see, I've not ordered any issues, the tank is all by himself. So you'll see how this manifests in game is usually there's not just one soldier, like there's obviously a large battlefield going on. So even though the AI looks dumb, that it actually can think for itself. In the battlefield itself, it's just obviously doing a lot of these calculations because there's a lot of targets and a lot of dangers, and the tank usually, or vehicles usually, well, units usually go for the highest priority target first and then move from there. So that is what move at will for vehicles will do. Quickly want to also show how move at will works for normal infantry. In this part, I just want to show what the move at will mode does and how to actually utilize it. So normally what you want to do is you want to keep your guys in a certain position where you tell them, cool, if I tell you to get into this cover, I want you to stay there until I say otherwise. However, sometimes you do want the AI to act a bit on its own. Unfortunately, this can lead to catastrophic outcomes. So a lot of people don't like this option at all, or don't want to use it because they don't like it or they don't really understand how it works. So I just want to give a quick overview of how it works. So like I said, if you tell him to hold position, if I tell this guy to stand there, he'll stand there no matter what. However, with move at will, they have a bit of a leeway where they'll either advance on an enemy, or if the enemy is becoming too strong, they will retreat a little bit. But what you need to know is the game has a way of showing covers. So this is the cover that your infantry can get into. So any building, debris, those kind of things have this effectively around them, which means that a soldier can stand in one of these spots to have cover, and this means that they can shoot over this way. I'm not going to go into what these symbols are, just all you need to know is those are covers. You can see there's cover around the tank as well. So what would happen is in movement at will, this is why people don't like it, is because they tend to, AI tend to move into the open, but then also when they go into cover, so when they want to go around this thing, instead of just going from this cover to this cover, always keeping terrain between them and the enemy, they will go around to this one and then move on to the next one. So they do expose themselves a lot. So there are certain areas where you want to use it, but not always. Then another thing is how, I'm not 100% sure how this works exactly when it comes to units, but for movement at will to work, your units need to be out in the open, not in cover specifically, because if I put them in cover, they will stay there no matter what, unless I split them up. When I split them up, that is like each unit then kind of decides for himself, then they'll move around. However, if you have them as a troop and you put them there, they're going to stay there even if move at will is on. However, if you want to utilize move at will for a squad, just keep them in the open and don't put them in cover. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to move them up, and then I'm going to reveal that tank with this officer with binoculars, and then you'll see that I've got two guys with bazookas here. They will automatically take out their bazookas, and then the whole squad will, the ones that can take on the tank, will slowly but surely move up and then try and assault the tank. Hello. Okay. So he's revealed it. So as you can see, now they start moving up. So I'm going to do that so you can see what they are doing. So as I said, people don't like it because AI does stupid stuff like this, like run into the open. And so I found it a lot more effective against easier AI, and against harder AI, unfortunately, this doesn't always work so well. But like I said, it's still a very effective tool to use. Whoopsie. I didn't realize I was still on him. Sorry. Okay. Cool. So as you see, they'll move up on their own. I didn't issue any orders, so they'll try and get in range with the bazookas. Now they've revealed themselves. The tank's going to come across now. You see, now they're retreating a little bit, assessing the situation and moving up again. But as you can see, this is why people don't like it, because now they're very exposed instead of running to the next cover. So what I'll do in a situation like this normally is I'll do this, disband them, and then reconnect them. Then there we go. Then they'll still move up as is necessary, but also on their own. So if you use it smartly, it can come in very handy. It does take away a little bit of the micromanagement, but like I said, it also, if you're not working with those troops, they might end up in a very bad situation. So as you can see here, they're retreating a little bit now because they know there's no enemies left there. That's pretty much it for this. Just one last thing I think I wanted to say on the cover and concealment is that terrain plays a huge role. So if you have hilly terrain, that does have a huge effect on what your units can see and cannot see. When it comes to concealment as well, a good tool for out in the open is obviously smoke grenades. However, I have seen that a lot of people complain that the smoke grenades do not work. That is because smoke works a little bit different in this game, as long as any enemy unit or any unit has eyes on a target, the smoke will not conceal them completely. And also, if your units are inside the smoke and they are firing outwards towards enemy, they keep on revealing themselves by shooting. So if you want to use smoke, you guys must cover your soldiers from all angles, and then also ensure that your soldiers, if they're moving through the smoke, are not firing outwards. So I'll see if I can give you a quick example here. So as you can see here, we're looking from this tank. They are now hidden from the smoke because the smoke is right in front of them. However, I'm going to turn that on. And I'm going to turn that on. But as soon as he has eyes on this target again, even though they're hidden from this tank, they're still going to be fired upon. So as you can see, even though the tank is supposed to be blinded, the tank can still shoot at them because they are being spotted from another enemy. So that is the problem why people think smoke doesn't work in this game, because normally you think that it will make that this tank cannot fire on them as it blocks the view. However, you've got to completely block them out. So if I do this, oops, if I do this, then you'll see they disappear again, because now neither of them has vision on the soldiers. However, if I do that, then obviously you'll see that they're going to appear again as soon as they start firing. See, there he reveals himself. Now the enemy can attack them again. So if you're moving through smoke and your soldiers are still attacking, they will still reveal themselves. Okay, one last thing I want to mention. A lot of people ask the question, where can they learn more about the units and how they work? As I said, there is a unit library. However, it does not give you all the stats that you necessarily want or need. It is very cool to look through here and get a little bit more acquainted with the weapons, but unfortunately they don't have things like maximum weapon range and things like that in here. So this is good to see the unit. However, like I said, people always ask where they can learn how the units function, and a lot of people jump directly into dynamic campaign, which has the research tree and things like that, but I don't think that is the best way to learn. If you really want to just check out what the units are and how they work, you can always just create a local skirmish, just close the entire enemy team, and then put the game setting here on test mode, and then you can choose whichever side you want to play. Let's say Finland, for example, and you can also obviously look at the doctrine. It'll give you the breakdown of what is in that doctrine. So then if you want to see how the things work, you just start this up. With the test mode, you'll have a lot of resources, and yeah. So here in test mode, like I said, then you can spawn in any unit that you want of this doctrine, and yeah, basically see what's in them, see how they work, just test them out, have some fun. And you'll also see, as I mentioned before, how the towing icons work is you'll see that they've got this little chain link, which means it can tow, and then the amount of dots above it is how strong it can tow. And you'll see things that can be towed has this little weight on it, and it's got the Latin number, and then as well as the 3 dots stating that this is a heavier thing to tow, this is a light thing to tow, etc. As I said, I'm not going to go into that into detail, and yeah, because a lot of people don't know where to begin just to learn what the units are and what they do. I think this is by far the best. And second to this, you can always fire up the editor. It's not that difficult. You can just chuck down a couple of things. There are a lot of guides out there on how to operate the editor. You don't have to have an advanced knowledge of it just to test out units. You can just throw them down and hop in. Yeah, and that's it. Alright, well, that wraps it up for my first series of tutorials. I hope this was of help to anybody out there, and yeah, good luck out there, and bye.